We have a new season of Stranger Things. This time it's animated, so let's rank every season of Stranger Things, including Tales from 85. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I have an updated Stranger Things seasons ranking to include Tales from 85 Season 1. This, of course, is the animated prequel spinoff set between Season 2 and Season 3. Is it actually canon? I have a whole video breaking that down up above. I don't believe it is. I'll dive into that momentarily. But before I get into this, hit that like button. Comment down below your ranking of all 5 seasons of Stranger Things with Tales from 85, making for 6 total seasons. And, of course, subscribe to that notification bell to help reach my goal of 200,000 subscribers here on the channel. I mean, quite a bit. Spoiler warning for all 5 seasons of Stranger Things and Tales from 85. If you haven't seen those, you don't want any spoilers, proceed with caution. Let's dive in. In last place at number 6, this should come as no surprise, is going to be Stranger Things Tales from 85. This is the newly released show. Like I said, I was not a big fan of this. In fact, I think this was a misfire. Why? Because they had the golden template for this to be successful, and they completely missed the mark with it. Once you've seen the show, you come to realize this is a series set between Season 2 and 3 that wants the audience to believe every event actually took place between Season 2 and 3, and that's not how it works. This thing is riddled with problems, but more importantly, canon issues. I don't believe this to be a part of the Stranger Things canon just because it's so illogical and doesn't make sense, and I take issue with that because when a prequel's made, it has to abide by the rules of the pre-existing source material in the universe the show Stranger Things established, and this strays from that time and time again. Early on in the show, characters welcome in a new character, Nikki Baxter, and all of them are spilling the beans on the Upside Down, the Mind Flayer, Will, and him being taken, and Eleven having powers, and they're just letting this stranger in, and by the end of the season, she joins the party.
What the heck is she?
Mind you, this is only a few months before the events of Stranger Things Season 3. You would think that if someone came into their lives and was that big of a deal, she would be mentioned in Season 3, 4, 5. That's not the case. Now again, I know Season 3, 4, and 5 came out before Tales from 85 was ever conceived of, but if you make a prequel again, you got to abide by the rules and fit it in to the canon, and this fails to do that. So even if I view this as just a prequel inspired by Stranger Things that were not meant to be taken as canon, I have to question its existence because it's not providing much value in that case. It's very kiddie, it's oriented to a young audience, and it waters down the versions of the characters that we love. So I don't really care for Tales from 85. I know there are fans of it out there, but for me, it was just a misfire. And coming off Season 5, which ended on December 31st, not even been like 5 full months since Stranger Things ended, and this is the first thing we're doing, an animated spin-off prequel. I question the decision-making, and I just hope moving forward that seasons of, any future spin-off are a little more serious. I know we're getting a live-action spin-off. We don't have a lot of details on that, but I hope when we get that it respects the lore in the world of Stranger Things, because I really don't want us to go down this dark path that we could be going down. That kind of gets that out of the way. That goes without saying. That's my bottom pick. Now we're getting to the remaining 5 seasons, which of course I ranked back in January, but there's been some shifts since then as I've sat with seasons more, and so next up on my list is going to be Season 5. I didn't have this in last, but I had it lower in my last ranking. It is now in last place. I'm in the middle of a rewatch right now, doing a Stranger Things rewind on Patreon if you're interested in hearing my up-to-date thoughts. When I finish that rewatch, I will be doing like an updated thoughts video here on YouTube where I lay out how I'm feeling and what I would have changed for Season 5. I still think they did a good job of landing the plane, and that's the most important part of any series finale, right? The epilogue, like the final 40 minutes, I thought were phenomenal. They pulled on the heartstrings, and they sent a lot of characters off into the sunset. I wouldn't change a thing about that final D&D game. Even the final shot of the show is wonderful. But when you took, 3.5 years between Season 4 and 5, and somehow it still managed to feel rushed in the end, that's where I draw concern. I know the writing and actor strike happened, but when I look back, especially, reviewing the documentary and looking at all the evidence, I'm really concerned and questioning the Duffers as to how they felt rushed when they had an infinite amount of time. I was talking about this with some friends, and I was like, it's almost like the Duffers got in their own heads about wanting to nail the finale. Because I think they had the idea of the final D&D campaign from Season 2 onward, but they didn't know what they wanted to do with the Abyss and the final battle, and so that's why that kind of felt rushed and a little underwhelming on rewatch. It's still very cool and gives the fans some moments that are awesome, but I can't help but compare Season 5 to Season 4, and I think that's a totally fair thing to do, by the way. They both had the same amount of time to be made. Season 4, we'll talk about later, epic in scale, but never loses the identity of the show. It nails the character dynamics, there are sacrifices that are real, it's got 80s nostalgia, it feels like we're in Hawkins, but the stakes just felt higher somehow in Season 4 when compared to Season 5. And so on rewatch, having sat with it, I still think 5 does some incredible things, but it's missing some of the 80s whimsy and magic of the previous 4 seasons, and I really can't help but wonder what Season 5 would have looked like if they opened right where Season 4 left off. So we didn't have an 18-month time jump, we picked up right on that hillside at the end of Season 4. Would it have felt more urgent? Would the stakes have been higher? Maybe, because a lot of this season, Volume 2, characters are like in one location for 3 whole episodes, and it almost is like we're holding them here for what? It really struggled to progress things as fast as I would have hoped, but it somehow still managed to feel rushed. So it's very bizarre on rewatch. I enjoy a lot of elements, but there are things I would have done differently. Maybe that's because we all theorized endlessly and maybe out-theorized and outdid the Duffers at times. I mean, I think you guys might be able to agree. Like, we had some really awesome theories that made sense canonically, but there are just things that I'm like, yeah, I can hear you guys out on that. At first, when I watched it, I was caught up. I loved talking about the show. The community was awesome, and I still, again, thoroughly enjoy Season 5. I just think it is the most flawed and by comparison the weakest of the 5 seasons, and it's taken a little bit of time for me to fully be able to accept and acknowledge that. I do think Season 5 had the potential to be the best season, and they might have fumbled that ever so slightly, which is okay to say because, again, this is coming from a place of love, someone who adores Stranger Things. I'm not hating on it, it's just I think it is the weakest of the 5 live-action seasons. Above that, I've got Season 3, which is the summer fun, vibrant season. The colors are popping. We're at Starcourt Mall. You got some Madonna needle drops going early with Material Girl. This is a fun season. Like, I want to rewatch it every single summer. It gives us like a silly version of Hopper, which obviously leads to some great Jopper moments. 11 and Max have a friendship or duo that blossoms here, and it gives us the Scoops Troop. So the character dynamics are just fun this season. Will, Mike, and Lucas kind of take a back seat at some of the weaker versions of those characters, but it elevates Dustin, it elevates Steve. You get Robin introduced here, so really we're taking things up a notch with some of my favorite character duos and dynamics. The Russians are here. That's like a staple of any 80s franchise or show. At some point, the Russians are getting involved, and this just so happens to be their season, and because of that, we don't really advance things with regard to the overall lore and the Upside Down. It's one of the seasons that focuses the least on that. That's kind of a bummer. Like, leading up to Season 5, I ranked this at the lowest season because I was like, it just feels the least important. I stand by the fact that of the first 4 seasons with regard to building to Season 5, this one is probably the least important, that carries the least weight, but it makes up for the lack of Upside Down lore with character dynamics, and I really can't say that enough. Like, we get some really awesome Joyce and Hopper moments. 11 and Mike have their time to shine. Elle and Max have their time to shine. Dustin and Steve are off the charts here. Robin steals the show. So, I mean, I really enjoyed just being in Season 3, and the 80s setting around the 4th of July, perfect for summer. It is very nostalgic to me, and I think when a lot of people think of Stranger Things, Season 3 is a period of time where they're like, yeah, that's it. Summer 2019, you can't beat it. It was unmatched. So I definitely adore Season 3. And when I cosplay anyone from Stranger Things, which is rare, I dress up as Season 3 Hopper. But next up at number 3, I've got Season 2. I'd argue this is the most important season of the entire show. It introduces Max, Bob, Billy, Erica. The list goes on and on. It gives us a lot of awesome new characters in the show. Murray is there as well. But you also advance the overall lore and understanding of what the Upside Down actually is, with the Mind Flayer having a large role here. The tunnels are brought in. Like, these are things that would come into play in Season 5. A lot of this because of Will Byers' deep connection to everything. We explore a lot of that here, especially in Episode 6, The Spy, when it's revealed that he is unintentionally spying for Vecna. We didn't even know who Vecna was at the time, so we thought it was the Mind Flayer, but there are just so many moments in the show later on, like Season 4, Season 5, where you look back at Season 2 and go, holy crap, I can view this entire show differently now because of little seeds that were planted in Season 2. On top of that, you got the spooky season vibes. You cannot beat that. Fall's my favorite season of the year. Halloween, the older I get, I learn to appreciate more and more. As I watch horror movies, I decorate, I have a lot of fun with it. And so anytime October rolls around, I get the kick to watch the first few episodes or the entire season of Season 2 again. The glaring issue and obvious, flaw or stain on Season 2 is the Lost Sister episode. It's like the Dark Horse, Black Sheep episode of Stranger Things. I still view it as the worst episode of the entire show, but it does advance 11 and helps her understand who she really is and makes her realize why she values her friends and family and wants to go back and save Hopper and Mike and all of them. So it was a good growth moment for 11. The episode as a whole, I can skip, I can do without it, but that's one episode of a 9-episode season, and I think the rest of this thing It fires on all cylinders. It's the closest in relation to season 1, where it's like 1 and 2 are their own era of the show and they stand out as such. It's because the kids probably aged the least between season 1 and 2, and so they feel the most connected and directly linked. I adore season 2. I'm very nostalgic for it as well, but it just delivers on some awesome moments. And of course, it gives us Steve and Dustin, guys. What are we talking about? Season 2, which of course ends with the snowball, mind you, filled with the nostalgic moments, and it's just incredible stuff. Above that, my runner-up, which could be number 1 any given day, is going to be season 1. It's the original vintage season of Stranger Things. Such a well-written, well-done season of TV that it could have been a one-off and ended the show, and I think it still would have been as culturally relevant and beloved today as it was after 5 seasons. Like, that's how impactful this one season of TV is. It's got your mystery sci-fi vibes, there's horror elements, but the characters are all just so well written and fleshed out here. It revolves around Will Byers going missing in the Upside Down, which we the viewers are like, what the hell is that? We're so in the dark watching season 1, but you fall in love with the world of Hawkins, with the characters, because of all the seasons, it's the smallest in scale. It takes maybe the most care of the characters, and everyone has like beautifully written arcs. Hopper and Joyce and the dynamic they have pairs together wonderfully as Joyce loses her son, and Hopper can relate because he lost his daughter, but he's dealing with some trauma. He's got his own mental demons. Like, they pair up and have to find Will. It's got adventure. It pays homage to E.T. and all the classic Spielberg adventures. It is such a love letter to the 80s, and without it, we wouldn't have the rest of this world that we all love. So I have to tip my hat to season 1. There are days where I think it's the best season of the 5, no question, but I give the edge, and I still believe the best season of the show is season 4. It is an achievement. Looking back, I'm like, man, season 4 really pulled off the impossible. There were 9 episodes, most of them feature length, and I look at season 4 and I go, why wasn't season 5 of this caliber? That's kind of my reasoning as to why 5 has dropped for me, is if you put them side by side, visually season 4 is better, story-wise season 4 is better. It contained one of the most jaw-dropping reveals of the entire show in the Massacre at Hawkins Lab. When Vecna was revealed to be one and Henry Creel, it literally had my jaw on the floor. The way the season opens, tricking the audience out to believe, wait, is 11 actually evil? And then it all leads to the misdirect in Massacre. It's just incredible writing. You've got Eddie Munson, who's a scene stealer here, and his dynamic with Dustin pulls on the heartstrings. I mean, this season gives us Dear Billy and the whole running up that hill sequence. By far, season 4 has the best soundtrack with Running Up That Hill, the Separate Ways remix. I mean, I could go on and on with the soundtrack. I think it has the best, most memorable needle drops. The emotional impact of the season is unmatched, and I think actually most of the actors give their best performance in season 4. Shout out Sadie Sink, shout out Gaten Matarazzo, shout out Caleb McLaughlin. These are performances that will stand the test of time forever. When Max is dying in Lucas's arms and he yells out, "Erica, help," it's chilling stuff. I mean, there are so many memorable moments in this season, and it's epic. It's long as hell, but I don't mean that in a bad way. You have the Russia storyline where Hopper opens up about his past and how he thinks he's this black hole and he's bad for everyone around him, so he has this own arc, ultimately leading up to a Jopper reunion. The California crew, probably the least relevant of the bunch, but still have some memorable moments. And overall, the Creel House storyline is the mystery center of this season. It's the core of this season. Like, this is where we took big leaps, big swings, and they all paid off. Vecna, full-on horror villain with the bodies and the limbs snapping early on. It embraces the horror side of things. It also still retains the storytelling and character traits of the earlier seasons that we love. The 80s feel is there, despite the scale being raised and things feeling more apocalyptic. It's kind of like the Infinity War of it all, if you think about it, and it's the build-up to the epic final season that was, by comparison, a step down, unfortunately. Season 4 is just unreal, guys. I can't get over the era. 2022, that summer, I mean, I very nostalgic for it. It was a big part of my life, this show, but just in general, that era was probably one of my favorite Stranger Things eras. It was so much fun to talk about season 4 and the gap between volume 1 and volume 2, and I think it executed so well. It is an outstanding season of television, and to me, I hold it as the highest season of Stranger Things, and I can't help but wonder what season 5 would have looked like if it was on the scale of season 4. Somehow we kind of stepped down a little bit. I think there's an alternate reality out there where season 5 is just as good or better than season 4, and I wish I could see what that was like, because I think undeniably 4 makes 5 look worse. But that is my updated ranking of all seasons of Stranger Things, including Tales from 85. Let me know your ranking down below, and of course hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon. But thank you guys as always for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.